Bob Pearson of WTO Group, and he's formerly from Dell. A lot of my smartest friends worship this guy. You talked about 10 key trends in marketing. What gives?
Well, Pete, what I was talking about today was the move is actually from big data to small data excellence. So it's very easy to ingest big data, but that's not our answer anymore. We have to actually look at what are the small data filters that actually give the insights in the market that matter. So for an example, I was talking today about Greenpeace. There's only a couple thousand people in the world that actually have ever done anything for Greenpeace publicly. Well, if you actually scrape all of it and you can see exactly who they are, you can actually now track what they're saying. You can do the same thing if you were looking at IT professionals. You can do the same thing if you're looking at any audience that you care about. So in the future, a brand will have maybe 50 filters that it uses depending on what it needs to know. It may be looking at a category or a competitor or an attribute or an issue or a particular country, and using the right filters will give the right insights. So that was one example. Another one was actually, when you think about how our brains work, our brains actually think in very finite terms, which makes the world easier to understand. So for any brand, there's only about 200 to 400 questions that people can ask about the brand. There's only 77 questions that we ask when there's an issue. There's only about 15 words or phrases that actually drive us the majority of the time to a story in search. There's roughly about 50 influencers that drive the majority of the conversation online. So we live in a very finite world. So the trick is, do we actually know what that set of finite terms is and people for our brand?
You also talked about the kind of the new dynamics of the funnel in a
Yes.
social world.
Yes. So when we think about like CRM, we've always thought about the top of the funnel, and we would go out to, say, 1 million people with an email and hope that maybe 50,000 actually respond. And what I was saying here is that if you went to the board of directors for your company and said, I have a new model where 99.5% of people will hate it, but 0.5% will love it, it would kick you out. But that's the CRM model that we've grown to love. So now what you can do is you can take the top of the funnel completely out. And if you use social graphic analytics, we can see who the top 100, let's say the top 100,000 people are who actually are totally on board with who we are for the brand. We can see what their interests are. And then as we give them content, they lead us to the like-minded people. Well, once we actually then track that group, we get to the 1 million people that matter for the brand relatively easily. It's in an earned media way. It's a social database, so we actually don't have to store all this in a way that we did before. And we can actually be very relevant to our customers.
Now, you also talked about a fascinating concept of don't think responsive design, think responsive experience. What's going on there?
Yes, well, Pete, that's something that, when you think of the mobile experience, more than 50% of content today is already absorbed through the mobile phone. And so when we think of the way we used to look at search, if we were in the top 3 queries, we thought that was a victory. Now, if you're in the top 3, it's actually irrelevant. And so what matters is, do you get the content that you need when you search for it on a phone? And that's responsive experience. So we have to rethink and say, is the right experience there every time? And also, when you think of your website, we used to just try to get people to our website and then hope that they would get to the right place, and we would guide them there. But now you can actually put a library of experiences behind the website that's invisible, and based on how people are searching, the way they search, they come in and they get the experience that matters to them. So it's kind of like us giving a handshake to the market.
The diversified doorways.
Yeah, we're basically aligning with our market, right? So I think when customers know that you understand them and you can align with them, they respond better. They stay longer, they comment more, they like more. And we just see this over and over, that when companies make that effort, it really does matter to the results.
Anything else? You're still under 5 minutes.
I was talking also about how earned media will make paid media smarter. And so when we look at that, earned media is really our customers saying what they believe in. And shared media is how they're acting, and owned is what they do when they come to us. Paid media is something that we do, but it's not based on necessarily knowledge of our customers. So in the future, we're going to be looking at what earned media is telling us, and ESO will make P smart.
But why do you see, so you don't see shared as part of earned, or do you think it's important to kind of splice those two apart?
I see them as related but different. So earned I see as like the wild. This is where our customers are just out there doing whatever they need to do. Shared, they're coming into a little bit more of a controlled experience. So they've made a commitment that they care about our brand. That's why they're in our site and talking about it. In owned, they're even more committed because they know that they either want something from us or they want to buy something. So we're really different stages of behavior for the customer. ESO together, all three are important, but they basically collectively tell us where customers actually are going so we can then put paid against that. So really we're flipping peso.
And last question, you spoke to the potential of internal social networks from companies. You really believe that?
Yes, I think that's a huge advantage. When I was at Dell, we experimented with this, and we got 300 people to agree to be trained and then give out content in the market. And what we saw is if we put out content in the market through a blog post, and then 300 people would actually share it, the market would react quicker, we'd accelerate the content flow, and we'd shape the market better. Imagine in a big company, if you had, let's say, 5,000 or 10,000 people doing that, you would absolutely have more control of how your story reaches the majority of people worldwide. So I think it's incumbent on brands who care about their reputation to really take control by allowing their employees to participate.
Bob Pearson, you still got it. Great to see you at WOMA. Hope to get you to Veve sometime soon. Thanks.